this poem is based on that wonderful work by Lewis Carroll, The Walrus and the Carpenter. It takes place at Toward Farm, Scotland, where Tracy, Sandra and Johnny share a house. The Lambs of Toward Farm. It was March 2020 and lockdown had begun. San and Trace up at Toward Farm were thinking what to do for fun. "Let's help with lambing," Sandra said. Trace thought, then said yes, it could be done. They asked the farmer the very next day. He said yes, that would be great. He brought 2 orphans straight away. They didn't have to wait. "We'll have to bottle feed them," Sandra said, as they watched them through the gate. They named the 2 lambs Chog and Eric as they fed them on their laps. They stroked and kissed and cuddled them. Oh, what happy little chaps. San said, "Do you think we'd be allowed to keep them?" Tracy thought and said, "Perhaps." Then 2 more orphans were brought to them and yet another 2. And thick and fast they came at last. There was such a lot to do. Feeding lambs 8 times a day. But the girls, they saw it through. As well as Chog and Eric, there was Pegs and Molly Moos. When Peggy first was given them, her front legs she could not use. But San and Trace looked after her. Now she's one of the fastest of the ewes. There's a naughty one called Percy, who's a girl, I have to say, named after Johnny's grandson because she arrived on the same day. She likes to jump in wheelbarrows. We wouldn't have her any other way. The lambs were kept in the laundry room. It warmed them up a treat. The girls called another Raddy. She was the one who hogged the heat. Also Bambi, Mibby and little Diddy, because she was so sweet. Hansel and Gretel were the twins. They came in early May. At first a little nervous, they got tamer by the day. San said, "I think they've come to love us, and now they want to stay." They let their lambs out in the yard. Bambino chased Kev the cat, who ran and hid under the car, glaring from where he sat, pretending he did not like the lambs, but the girls knew better than that. One sunny day they sat with them, drinking wine and bottled beer. The girls, they got a little drunk and said, "Oh, we've had a great idea. Let's take all our babies in the house." Johnny looked and said, "No fear." The lambs, they came in anyway and simply had a ball, running in and out of rooms and up and down the hall. Then they all slept in Sandra's bedroom. They didn't mind at all. Next day the house was such a mess. Everywhere had to be cleaned. Sandra said, "I'm thinking now, it wasn't such a good thought as it seemed." Trace said, "Forget it. The next step is, off the bottle they must be weaned." Here Johnny helped, and in the barn he put a row of teetees. They pushed and shoved to get to them. They looked such little sweeties as they sucked the milk and wagged their tails and kicked up their little feeties. The next move was to put them in the field, so on the grasses they could munch. They chomped away quite happily for breakfast, dinner, lunch. The girls, they saw them every day. They were such a happy little bunch. Each day at dusk the lambs would play and up the field they'd run. And then they'd all run down again. They thought it was such fun. The girls went out and called their names, and they answered one by one. Their friends, they came and visited. The lambs' ears they loved to clutch. Their lovely eyes, their fluffy coats, so tender to the touch. Very soon it was plain to all, the girls loved their lambs so much. They cuddled them and took their pics, which on Facebook they did post. Then one dark day their housemaid said, "Of this time you make the most, because by the end of January they'll be gone for Sunday roast."
Boo!
"I weep for you," poor Sandra said. The tears began to drop, and Tracy also quietly wept. The crying wouldn't stop. They said, "We must work out a scheme to save our babbers from the chop." "We could start a business," Sandra said. "As Chog's chutney it could trade. We could make our own and market them. A fortune could be made." Trace said Percy's and Peggy's preserves besides, and Molly Moo's lime marmalade. Production started straight away. Soon all began to rave, about their chutneys and preserves, all flavours they did crave. But would the venture be in time? Their little charges would they save? One day the girls went in the field to search for their little stars. They called out, "Hallo, Babbers," and answer came the bars of all their little orphans who'd been saved by selling jars.
Hurrah!
This poem is dedicated to all our little Babbers who didn't make it, especially Douglas and Diddy. They're now all in Lammy heaven. God bless you all.
Hooray!